Folks, Lindsay Huddleston with Sports Psychology Solutions at the Horatio Williams annual golf outing. Sitting here with my foursome mate, Senator Marshall Bullock, representing. Did a really good job there. How you doing, Senator?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I had a great time today.
We had a really good time. What brings you out to the Horatio Williams Foundation event?
Well, Horatio was a friend of mine, but Horatio, when I first met him, he's a little older than me. You know, he was just doing stuff in the community. You know? He was always, hey, can you help me get some coats for some kids? Hey, I'm running some basketball camps. Hey, we helping with the baseball team. And I know other guys like that, but he just stood out when he wanted to do that. And then over the years, he's turned that drive and that passion into this foundation. And then I remember when Horatio first got his building, and so whenever he saw me and anytime I was able to support, I was there. And then in my capacity helping, I worked juvenile justice for almost 30 years, and so that was one way to help. But then I've also been a mentor in my fraternity mentors. So then I became an employee under Mayor Duggan's administration. And so when they asked, like, what nonprofits would you like to help, Horatio was at the top of the list. And then I was having meetings. So what I did in the mayor's office was bring folks that didn't normally have access to the mayor to the table. And so one time I had like just a bunch of gentlemen I knew, from Kari Turner to Horatio Williams to Camille Knox from Omega Sci-Fi, and just Major Clora, who owned a funeral home, brought us all together, and everybody just had to have a conversation with Mayor Duggan about things that they wanted to see in the city of Detroit. And I did a series of those. One time I just had all barbershop owners. One time I had a mixed group, and for whatever reason, all the ladies missed it. So then it was just all men. So I had another one following that with just
you had to have another
with all African American women.
Oh wow, business leaders and owners and whatnot.
The lady who, her name eludes me. She runs the Science Center, and then like Sonia Mays. My wife she works in Blue Cross. Toya Hankins, and those, just folks who just don't normally have access to touch the mayor, to come in and give their perspective on what's going on in the community. So we get back to Horatio, we had a meeting, and then the team wanted to expand on that. So Horatio was like, come to my place. So then we had a meeting at Horatio Williams' place. And so anybody I connect with who's looking for a venue to do things, and they're like, one of the, where are places we can have events and whatever, I always make him one of those three. Like, you go rent from Horatio. Go rent from Horatio. Go to use Horatio. Seniors, where y'all want to do is go to Horatio. It's not even in my district, but I want Horatio to be successful and whatever he's doing. So this guy is just dedicated in the passion that he has, and we got this big fella behind me, Bernard Hall. He pretty in pink today, but it's all good. It's all good.
V is good. Well, it seems like, and one thing I'm impressed with about all the things you do is that you had access, and other than just keeping it in this ivory tower, you pretty much gave access to those who wouldn't. You kind of were advocate for those who didn't have anyone advocate for them.
Yeah, so my position was, I got access, y'all got access. So if it's something that you really felt was worthy, or you needed to have some type of conversation with anything, or anything that the city's administration had to do, if you had to connect with a council person, you had to connect with your state legislator, I was like, use me. And so folks did that.
Oh, that's helpful. Sitting here with Senator Marshall Bullock at the Horatio Williams annual golf outing. You had some good hits out there today, man. Had a good time.
Sometimes I hit the ball good. Sometimes I hit it long, but it's not always straight. So I hit it long and wrong sometimes.
Well, your constituents would be upset if you had an excellent golf game. I mean, you out golfing instead of working for the community.
This is only my second time, actually third time out in like 2 years. You know what I mean? So last year I didn't do any. I was dedicated to the campaign and running for office. I was successful. We've got a lot accomplished in just 5 months. We're going into 6 months now. But, we got the auto insurance reform.
That's huge.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I graded a B minus.
Okay.
But what we had, the status quo that we had, I would give it an F.
No one thought that was even going to pass or even come to be.
Well, so yeah, and then folks argue about little nuances and stuff, but nuances is what keep deals dead. It's easy to argue about something that won't win.
Hold on, man. The nuances is what keeps deals dead.
Yeah.
So you say I got a problem with this little thing, but that's going to stop the whole process.
That'll stop the whole process. If that is a deal breaker for the other side. So if you got 20 things on the table that you're looking for, they got 20 things on the table they looking for, but neither one of you will budge on 5. That means out of the 40, let's work on the 30. Let's get the 30.
So what stops people from taking that perspective as opposed to digging in on their own issue?
I don't know. I mean, everybody has their own personal value system.
Sure.
So think about this. People have been arguing for the non-driving factors to be eliminated, which is your FICO score or your credit rating score used, marital status, education, location, zip code.
Sure.
So, and within all of that, every insurance company, which are national companies in every state, uses what they call territorial rates.
Territorial rates.
So we got rid of everything that was a non-driving factor because everybody was like, we got tired of zip codes, we tired of credit.
Sure.
And so now what's left is the base territorial rates. Now you got people angry because they didn't take territorial rates out. And they're projecting what that's going to be. But we gave the Department of Insurance and Financial Services the power to manage that. And so they can't just say it's a territory. They can make Detroit a territory.
Sure.
They might make Wayne County a territory. They might make Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb one territory. We don't. But they have to present a reasonable and rational explanation of how the territories are going to be.
So there's a check and balance for that.
Now, so the way the statute has been written for the last 45 years, the Department of Insurance Financial Services didn't have control or power to say no to a lot of things.
Oh, they didn't have any teeth.
All of the industries, no matter what they were doing, blame the other industry.
Right.
And then on top of that, all of them operated technically within the law. It wasn't, but it was amoral. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so, just because the law says you could do this
doesn't mean you should do that.
And so they were preying on the state of Michigan for a lot of things, and then most of them were blaming the hospitals. The hospitals would tell you that theirs, but they all operated within the technical statutes of the law.
Right.
So we had to change some of that.
And you did that. I think it's great having a person like yourself. And I've always been able to admire you from afar, being a community person, but being very accessible. Just kind of reflecting the culture of Detroit in a positive way.
A regular dude from Detroit, grew up in a single-family home on financial assistance. So I don't see myself as anything.
Well, no, people can make a move, get a little job in the title, and then they switch it up.
Some, but they probably believe that about themselves. Like, you can believe what you want in yourself.
Sure.
I'm just, I'm successful. Like, family and kids is my success. Just like,
that's right.
When I got a job working for the state of Michigan, that was like the pinnacle for me at one point. And then moving to D.C. and Miami, coming back home with learning and gaining more experiences. But I've never, I ain't no millionaire.
Sure.
So, and just because, and I say this a lot, I won the election, I didn't win the lottery. So all of a sudden I didn't get some money. I'm still just a hard-working dude trying to provide for my family. But my dedication to the community and people are there. But my salary didn't take off.
Sure.
A lot of folks, they ease into politics. Their parents worked in politics.
Or
they were in college, they worked for a politician, whether their family knew them or not. And then they later become a staffer and then a chief of staff. And then I worked my whole life since I was 11.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I was a caddy at the Detroit Golf Club.
Wow.
And then I was just hustling. I was cutting grass, and shoveling snow with my friends, and trying to bag groceries, and police cadet jobs.
All that.
So I worked. And then this is where I am now. Some opportunities came. I believe if you do hard work, people notice you.
Yeah, put your head down and get the work done.
I did my work, and but my values ain't changed much.
And it seems to carry you. Sitting here with Senator Marshall Bullock. We're at the Horatio Williams Foundation golf outing. I had the pleasure of getting out there with him and having a good time. Anything you want to share to the young people that Horatio may touch, the people in the community, the people in your district, just a final word as we get ready to part?
I just, want people to stay steadfast and give the folks that they elect an opportunity to do what they are elected to go do. If they say they're going to go work on something, let them work on that. I mean, again, it's easy to argue and dance and give you a passionate speech about something that we all know not going to work. Because that's easy to argue that.
Right.
My whole base and what I want people to do is, what's the solution?
What's the solution?
See, I don't want another 45 years ago before we solve a problem. I want to solve problems today. I got my first bill signed into law. So I have my first public act in 5 months.
What bill is that?
So it's a bill to eliminate or ban e-cigarettes and vaping for minors.
Oh, wow.
So I got 30 years juvenile justice. I've seen it.
So wow. And that's a huge issue throughout the country.
It's throughout, especially in urban America, the vaping, not so much the e-cigarettes, but the liquid cartridges contain nicotine, which is the addictive chemical.
Right.
And nicotine is just as powerful for me as crack. And if you don't believe me, in the wintertime, watch people standing outside in the cold without a coat on,
just so they can do that.
Get a hit of cigarette.
That's a good point.
Nicotine is a powerful substance. You don't see people go outside, get a shot of liquor.
No.
You don't even see crackheads really go out.
Yeah, they're like, it's too cold.
They like it's too cold to go to crack. Or can you get a ride? Come pick me up. Nicotine, the dude will not pick up his coat so he won't get busted to go outside and stand outside at 5 below just to take 3 powerful. So nicotine is a very powerful substance.
Right.
And then liquid cartridges, these kids are buying them. And in Michigan, there's only 2 states that didn't have any laws on the books about it. Federally, you're not supposed to sell it to anybody under 18.
Right.
But there was no enforcement in Michigan.
True.
So I partnered with a Republican senator who had been working on it. And
across the aisle.
So what happened is it'd been vetoed before portions of the bill type of banning. So we talked about it. Let's get it out the hands of the kids, because what it is the states and the government want to move these devices and these non-tobacco products into tobacco law so they can tax it. And eventually the whole country, because recreational medical marijuana is becoming popular and states are passing out, is going to move to 21. Smoking you have to be 21 to smoke anything. Okay. But I just want to get it out the hands of the kids right now. We can work on that later. And so that's how we worked in concert with my Senate counterparts, and then it went over to the House that way, and it passed almost unanimously.
Oh, wow.
And then it got signed into law last Tuesday, so I got my first bill. I mean, you got folks been up in line since 12, 18 years and don't have one.
And no knock, it's a very substantive bill, too. It's not one of the bills you read and say, well, what does this do and who does it do it to?
Along with, so I'm on insurance and banking. So I know both topics well. So we got the insurance for automobiles out of the way. Now we got to address some other things: housing, insurance, life insurance, other types of insurance. And in the banking industry, we got to work with them, because now medical marijuana and the recreational is called adult use marijuana. They're not calling it recreational; it's called adult use marijuana. And the equity factor for diversity and inclusions of minorities.
Who's getting involved from a business
standpoint? How we get that cash to the bank. Because technically, federally, marijuana cannabis is a Schedule I drug.
So they can't take it in the bank, right? They can't.
So the federal banking institutions can't take money.
So you can't get that FDIC support, to cover it.
And so we're working to try to relax some of those laws, at least for community banks and credit unions to be more. But see, the problem is if you do that, once the credit unions and the community banks get involved, then the major banks are going to jump into business, and those people will leave the folks that went out on a limb for them. And so how do you keep that balanced.
Well, it seems like you're going to be real busy with a lot of work to do.
And then we also got to raise the age. So Michigan is one of 4 states that have a list of behaviors that if you get charged with those crimes under 18, it's an automatic adult prosecution.
Wow, so that somebody can back their way into some trouble.
So we changed the law to raise the age back to 18 to be charged as an adult. So now we're not putting 16, 17-year-olds in a holding cell with adults.
Sure.
We're not putting them in the prison.
Oh, because it falls up under that.
It falls under that. So now they go back to juveniles. So give them a chance to get their life together.
Sure.
I made a mistake, but if you put me in a prison, then other things happen to me.
And you know about that because of your experience with juveniles.
Yeah, so working in the juvenile justice system in 3 states. And so that was big. So it's a package, bipartisan. On the Republican side, out the Senate was led by Peter Lucido. And on the Democratic side, it was led by Sylvia Santana. But I have a bill in that package. And along with Stephanie Chang. So you got 3 Democrats who have a bill in the package.
Sure. Yeah, in a Republican-led legislature.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And we crossed that, and that passed in the House. Went over, Senate went over to the House, and I think they just passed it. It'll go to the governor.
What you doing up there? Everybody working with you to make things happen for you, man?
Man, I just, I don't have a problem with other folks. Like, we had a big issue, and this is national. There's a national movement to challenge Roe v. Wade. So all of the states are passing laws to try to get anti-abortion laws done. So if you keep suing, if they change it, the state change, then people going to sue. It's going to make its way to the Supreme Court. And right now, the Supreme Court may overturn it because their value system's a little different than ours.
Right.
And so that will be the gateway to challenge Roe v. Wade in the lawsuit that makes it to the Supreme Court.
Oh, wow.
And then that'll be a Pandora's box to other long-standing precedent.
Yes, they'll try to go back and rule away at all.
Some other things.
Right.
And so we got to be careful and mindful and vigilant of that.
Okay.
And so, I'm just involved, man.
Deeply involved.
So just because, I had guys vote for my bill and then they voted for abortion, but it'll be vetoed by the governor. But I'm not mad at the way they think of it,
Sure.
I don't get so heated and angry about what their stance is. I just try to express my case, and if we got a very harsh disagreement, where's the solution? Where's the compromise?
You got to find that space in between.
And so that's how I work. I'm trying to solve problems. I ain't trying to cause problems.
Well, the people in your district and the people of the state of Michigan should be really happy for your representation. I want to thank you for all that you're doing.
I appreciate
coming and sharing. We're gonna make sure
nice playing with you today.
Good playing with you too. We got to do it some more. Lindsay Ellison, sports psychology assistant at the Horatio Williams Foundation event, signing off with Senator Marshall Bullock, doing great things for the state of Michigan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, brother.
Perfect.